I want to play a little bit of President Trump today. I think this was on his a radio interview I think he did on WABC. Take a listen.
I'm not saying there won't be a little pain, but the market's gone up 40%, 42%, so we might lose a little bit of it. But we're going to have a much stronger country when we're finished.
It was interesting what he counted as pain there. I was with Bernie and Sid, my buddy Sid Rosenberg from Miami. Kudos to him on that show.
There it is, the only person to give us credit by name. Even Fox News, where Bernie will start today on the popular show Outnumbered, coming up at noon today, never mentioned our names. The only person to do that is my dear friend. For a long, long time now, a dear friend of Bernie's as well. The Bernie and Sid Show, the host of Meet the Press. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
The Todd father.
The great Chuck Todd. Good morning, Chuck. How are you, pal?
Good morning, Sid. Good morning, Bernie. You know what I love about you guys? You're like me. You keep score and you keep grievances.
That's right.
Right?
Well, Trump does the same thing, and obviously so does Jim Comey. So does Jim Comey.
2018.
Right. Hey, listen, before we get to all of that, though, congratulations. You got a big guest coming up on Sunday. He did make the announcement earlier this week that he's not going to run for re-elect, talking about Paul Ryan in Wisconsin. He'll be on Meet the Press with you this Sunday. That does bode the question, what does that mean, in your opinion, in terms of the midterms coming up in November?
You know, I don't think actually it means much other than it's yet another person seeing some writing on the wall. But I don't think it has an impact. I think this idea that him retiring makes it harder for Republicans. You know what it does is it puts one more seat in play, his own.
You don't.
That's really it.
That's not a safe seat, Chuck, that Paul Ryan's coming from?
It's not. It is an open seat. It's not safe.
Okay.
It's one of those Paul Ryan. You know, look, it was a swing district before Ryan took it. In many ways, he has made it seem more of a solid district than it might be. And look, we've seen in Wisconsin some more Republican legislative districts that are more Republican flip to the Democrats in these specials. So it's in play.
So you say he sees the writing on the wall. You don't necessarily take him at his word that he's leaving because of his family, his 16-year-old daughter, and all that stuff. But
I think both things are true. If you don't have joy in your work, then suddenly you long more for your private life.
Well said.
I'm serious. I think he enjoyed it. Then all of a sudden, guess what? He might tell his family, "Hey, why don't you guys move to Washington? Let's all be together out here." You know, I think if he was getting more out of this, he'd be running.
All right, fair enough. So what is Chuck Todd? You've got a bit of a dilemma here, Chuck. What do you start with on Sunday? If Trump hasn't done anything yet by that time about Syria, you've got the crisis in Syria. That is huge news. You've got, this story right here. Paul Ryan will be a guest on your show. And then, of course, you've got this silly interview with Stephanopoulos and this creep Jim Comey coming up on Sunday night. What do you start with on Meet the Press?
Well, you ask President Trump what he's going to do with Syria. Is he bombing Syria Saturday night, or is he going to wait till the Comey interview begins?
Bingo.
That's what Bernie said right before, an hour before, we're going to start bombing.
I mean, it clearly isn't a wag the dog scenario, but if you have the option
I agree, Bernie.
If you have the option of timing, why not?
I tell you, can you imagine? So ABC's got it all set up.
That would be so
go off at about 9:50. The White House.
I like the way you think.
The president comes out to address the nation, about 10:03, 10:04?
9:04, this way they have to cover, they do analysis afterwards or whatever. Yeah, perfect. It would be just...
Probably a tiny bit too ham-handed, but then again, I don't know. I don't rule anything out.
Well, we had to do it tonight because we saw the Syrian troops were moving, or they were moving aircraft, and we had to act now.
That's funny. But on a serious note, do you think we're going to... We don't think so. We've heard the excerpts. We know what's going on. We don't think anything real material is going to come out Sunday night other than, oh, my God, Donald Trump doesn't want to embarrass his wife, as if that's a bad thing. What do you expect to come out Sunday night that's going to raise any sane person's eyebrows?
I think the curiosity I have on the Comey book is I'm with you. Everything I've read, you're like, okay, is there a blockbuster detail here that we didn't know before? Not, so far, no. But the question is, how does Comey play with those in the country that aren't paying the close attention that you guys are, that I am? We're living it a little bit more, perhaps, than other people in the country. How does Comey play with the rest of the country? And that's where this could have and impact where? Does he have credibility with those that are more passive observers of all this? I think that's something to watch out for, and that's what, to me, why this interview matters. It's more about the public judging this guy's credibility. It's one thing to write it in a book. It's another thing to say it.
You know, Chuck, Todd, there are two issues of substance, I think, aside from the body shaming of Trump's hands and the color of his, mocking the color of his skin and all that stuff. One of them is his timing on, he says he came out and reopened the Hillary case, 8 to 10 days before the election. He says it was because he thought he was sure Hillary would win, and that then she would therefore be viewed as an illegitimate president if he didn't come out before the election and say, hey, we reopened the case. And by the way, our sources tell us that the NYPD and insiders in the FBI were about to leak that, and that's why he came out. So you have that, and also he calls Loretta Lynch's investigation into the Hillary emails into question. He says that they had some evidence that it would affect the integrity of the probe. So there are two issues right there, two substantive issues that I think is going to resonate. It's going to have some legs.
I think there's another thing, by the way, is that Comey himself said he didn't think what the president did rose to obstruction of justice, in his view, on what he did. That was also in there, and I suspect that is a fact that President Trump is going to tweet out quite a bit, that Comey himself says. And he said, it was something in his personal judgment. The other thing he said about Loretta Lynch that I think is going to get, that it'd be another thing I think the president's supporters note, is that Comey says, I almost recommended a special prosecutor. Right. And, you sit there, when you read that, you sit there and say, geez, in hindsight, why didn't you?
Right.
You had cleaner hands. I mean, my God, the story of Comey, and even when you read this book, this is a guy who believed, he was more virtuous than everybody, and that he could handle that he somehow was going to fix this situation himself, restore or keep the integrity. He'd handle this rather than going through the regular protocols. I mean, if he had actually gone through the regular protocols, he might not be in the situation he's in, which is in some ways this sort of weird pariah in no man's land, right?
Yeah.
There are Clinton people that are upset with him for one reason, Trump people upset with him for another reason, and it's all because I think he thought, in the same way that people criticize President Trump for being, I alone can fix it, that's Comey's problem. I think he thought he alone could fix all that.
That's a great point. Hey, of course, talking to Chuck Todd. Every single day does a great job, 5 p.m. on MSNBC. And then, of course, appointment watching every Sunday, 10:30 on the best show on TV, Meet the Press. Let me rewind the week just a little, Chuck. I'm sure you'll touch on this, too, on Sunday, when Robert Mueller's folks broke into wherever Michael Cohen was. Hotels, offices, houses, didn't matter. They were breaking in. People like Alan Dershowitz, who we love on this show, claim that was clearly a constitutional issue, and that they never should have done that. And in fact, he said President Trump should have had those guys in court the next day. Where do you stand on the Michael Cohen, quote unquote, invasion of privacy?
Well, here's the thing: we don't know what is it that they had that they felt was so compelling. I mean, think about the bar that they're supposed to clear in order to go after, to go essentially and go after the lawyer. They didn't think he would comply with a subpoena. Why did they not think he would comply with a subpoena? Did they have evidence that he was destroying evidence? Did they have, you got to have more than just a gut feeling that Michael Cohen might get rid of evidence. You got to have some sort of, so look, the fact that he got this through a judge, that he got this through another Rosenstein, you would think that Rosenstein knows that his head is on the chopping block. So if he's approving this, one would assume it must be some compelling evidence. But if there's not, I think it could be the thing that sort of ends Rosenstein and gives the president sort of a PR opportunity here. But sure. I think if I were the president, I'd be wanting to know, what is it, show me, the evidence that you had to do this.
And unlike again, and I don't know, Hillary Clinton. I mean, she was destroying, or she was losing emails left and right. Nobody rated anybody there. But listen, Chuck Todd, we're out of time. Your Yankees are 6-7. I'm sorry to report. We don't have time to talk about it, but I know you're a bit disconsolate over that.
I'm disconsolate. I'm not. Can you? You know, I'm just annoyed that this Yankees-Red Sox, you guys are going to shove this rivalry down our throats for the rest of the country.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Just listen. Just be sure to do the right thing over Colin Kaepernick on Sunday, okay? We know what he is. We love you. You're great. We'll watch Meet the Press every day. Meet the Press on Sunday. We're thrilled you're on every Friday. Have a great weekend, Chuck Todd. We love you.
Thank you.